They're twisting the text. They are trying to conceal its true meaning. We've heard, but their edits are shallow. The truth will out someday.
Peace of the Lord to all of you. Welcome to this final episode for the year 2025. So, I hope that you have enjoyed these special episodes that we've had here for you during the Christmas period, and this will be the last one from next time. We will go back to just talking about the normal stuff that we do here on the channel. But just to close off the year, I thought it would be appropriate to just give a number of thank yous to the people who have been helping and contributing to get closer to the answers of what happened some 1400 years ago. So today's session is going to be just showing these people that have been helping quite a bit the channel during this year, and just telling you what is the road ahead for next year, with the caveat that terms and conditions apply. It all depends on time, how we're doing with time, and we might have to reprioritize things and move things around and things like that. But otherwise, if things go according to plan, this is what we are probably going to be doing next year. It would be as well very beneficial if you have any thoughts and ideas of how we can do things differently, what other topics we should address, anything that we have missed with the content that we have shown to enhance the arguments and so on. Please make sure that you let us know, because like I very often say, it takes a village to get to the bottom of this mystery. So we need to all work together. So with that in mind, let's just say thank you to a few people. So starting with our brother John, who has been here on the channel showing his biblical blueprints sessions. So we have recorded, I think it's been like 12, 13 of them. And he probably is just maybe 2 or 3 away from finishing the showcasing his full research. And then after that, um, I don't know, maybe I will let him have a break. So anyway, his sessions have been spectacular. He uses particularly the translation from Murad, which is incredibly literal, of course. And then from there, he thinks, I've seen this theme somewhere, and finds that in the Bible. Lots of shows have been very good, and the very last one that we recorded was absolutely phenomenal. It was a lot of fun. So make sure that if you haven't actually caught up with his work, that at the very least you watch that last one, because it is great. So once he's done with his whole thesis, I hope he will be able to prepare like 1 or 2 summaries of everything that he has done, that we can then do on 1 or 2 shows, so that people can actually go to very specific videos to see what he was talking about in each of them, because there is quite a bit of content there. And there is what's it called? uh, just looking for the name to a playlist. So we have a playlist with everything that he has been doing. So you can actually find all of that very easily in one place as well. John is an exceedingly busy person, so the chances are we will not have any sessions until probably February. Although I hope that he will be freed up sooner, and then we record things. But otherwise, keep an eye out. The chances are during February, or perhaps going into March, we will manage to finish all of his sessions, and then we can let the man rest. Although I'll keep nagging him, and to see if he comes up with some more wonderful stuff. After all, I think you can get the mission out of a man, but you cannot get the man out of a mission. I think he will still keep thinking about all of these problems with the Quran, and the chances are he will come up with some very, very interesting stuff. And if that happens and he's freed up, he will always be more than welcome to showcase any of his thoughts. I think they're very, very important to understand what happened with Islam. So Noel as well, so he has done a few shows here with us showing the Maltese Arabic and how perhaps understanding how the Arabic language developed in Malta, and as well it was sort of cut off for some time, how that may actually help us understand a little bit better how Islam was spreading, the theology, the language, and so on. So we were considering to do some extra sessions at the end of this year, but we've been actually very busy, and it's been impossible. So for now we have delayed that until next year. I hope that we will see Noel back very soon, and he's as well quite knowledgeable on the actual history of how things were moving around, how the Islamic Empire was actually spreading. So hopefully we'll have some historical lessons as well, but it will depend up to him. I know that he's quite busy at the moment, so hopefully as well he will be freed up. The sooner the better. So a big shout out to our brother Norman, who we did a show where he was explaining his views on the Quran, seeing it already as Trinitarian, being from a Muslim background, but then realizing that the Quran tells a different story. And we had a wonderful conversation here on the channel, and it's been very well received from many different fronts. So make sure that you actually catch up on that one if you can. And we will have more conversations with Norman in the near future. We're preparing some things. I hope that they crystallize, because there are a number of topics that would be ideal if we actually did these things with him. Because of his background, his arc is particularly unique and particularly interesting. So it's been wonderful, and he's a very genuine person, the equivalent of a man looking for answers and in search for truth. So looking forward to seeing what other things he discovers and how we move forward with understanding the Quran with his input. And of course, we have Kash with his analysis of the Quranic language and Aramaic, Syriac, and everything else in between. So looking forward to seeing what things Kash manages to publish in the hopefully near future. And particularly would be great to see a book where he puts together all of his findings, but otherwise still keeping an eye out for research to be online. So waiting on that and looking forward to see all of the little nuggets and answers that he can actually provide to this huge mission and mystery that is understanding the Quran. So as well, big shout out to our friend Shai. So he has done a number of sessions here showing Talmudic stories that have been copied into the Quran, and also from other apocryphal stories that have made it into the Quran. Just like with pretty much everybody else, he's been incredibly busy these days, so hence why we haven't seen him on the channel for a while. If you go to his channel, although it's in Hebrew, so it's not for everybody. I struggle with the understanding, obviously, the videos. I have to actually get it with subtitles and stuff, and it's always a bit hit and miss. Hopefully, his channel will get dubbed videos, and then that will be easier. But certainly, if you speak Hebrew, they are incredibly well researched, and he puts a lot of effort into the videos. The ones that I have seen, they have a lot of moving things and clips, even from movies, and a lot of things that I cannot do. So he's actually very good with that. The only drawback is the language. I wish that he did these things in English as well. Maybe I can persuade him to do exactly the same things that he's doing in Hebrew and then do them in English. That would be very helpful. Or otherwise, he can come over and do the same thing here on the channel in English. And that would also be quite good. But anyway, he has been as well, like very busy. Like most people, we're not doing this professionally. We're doing this in our free time. So hopefully he will have time in the new year, and we will see him again. We have discussed the option of not only going to the apocryphal stories and showing how they borrowed them into the Quran, but also the stories in the Quran that they simply get wrong, which is something that Shai actually understands very well. So maybe we'll do something like that, and hopefully we can do those things in the near future. Fingers crossed. Then, of course, we have Joe, and of course, there is like multiple spellings of his name. So I do apologize if he doesn't like this particular spelling. Most people that I speak with, they still refer to Joe as opposed to Josin or anything else. So as we know, he is a fan favorite. Pretty much everybody on the channel, they are familiar with his work, and his channel is pretty much about Messianic Noahites and understanding the Quran from that lens or that point of view, which it actually solves a lot of the big questions when it comes to the Quran. After all, the Quran was written in a Judeo-Christian setting, and most of us, we are familiar only and to a degree with Christian writings, Christian traditions, and so on. But the people who wrote this, they were as well very familiar with the Judeo traditions. So, just like we have seen with Shai, that there are all these Talmudic stories, the people who wrote the Quran, they were very familiar with the Jewish traditions. And obviously, Joe knows a lot about that. Plus, he knows a lot about the writings that Jewish people wrote, of course, during the 5th, 6th, 7th centuries in the leading up to Islam, which most people just ignore because they are written in Hebrew and most people don't speak Hebrew. So Joe is kind of almost unique in that there aren't too many people who apply their linguistic knowledge to then trying to answer the history of Islam. And some of the shows that I've had with him where we just talk about the history, it's absolutely fascinating. So I hope to actually do more work as well with Joe in the new year and analyzing more verses and trying to get a little bit more clarity on what this Quran was originally. So I've had one show as well with Callum. Anyone who is from Titans TV, if you are not familiar with his work, he is perhaps in a way ahead of the curve because the discussion that is still raging now is, did Muhammad exist? And you have the camp that says that he did and the camp that says that he didn't. But what he pretty much answers is, where did the stories come from? And of course, for as long as there is this debate of did Muhammad exist, people are not really paying attention to where the stories came from, because everyone who claims that Muhammad existed, they will say, well, I don't care what Kalam says, because Muhammad existed and those stories are Muhammad's. So Kalam is just on the next step, concluding, okay, Muhammad didn't exist. Where did they copy these stories from? Did they invent them from scratch, or did they have a blueprint? And then he has found stories from the Abyssinian Empire, which they are very paralleled to Muhammad. So we will see what happens. I do have the feeling that as more and more people realize, they get convinced that the Muhammad of the narrative never existed, that the next question they will ask is, where did they get the stories from? And Callum has already done probably a lot of that work for everybody. So that's actually very good. We will see. Then, of course, Mel, unfortunately, he is, at least rumor has it, like hanging up his boots. Well, it's not rumor has it. He did actually put a post saying that he was trying to switch off from the internet. His work has been phenomenal, and we did a session here with him and Murat, who will appear in the next slide, I think. And of course, it's been phenomenal, despite of the very recent criticism. The core of their thesis, which is that the Muhammad of the narrative never existed, is 100% correct, as we prove here pretty much on a daily basis. And yeah, he will certainly be missed, and I'm actually very happy and privileged that we managed to actually have a conversation and at least to have the opportunity to give him the reassurance that his work is very well noted and very much used, and that we will continue to um, provide all of the evidence necessary to demonstrate what we basically already know, which is that Mohammed was an invention. So I really hope that, well, I really hope that he doesn't really retire and that we see him popping back up, because he's as well one of the OGs, one of the guys who have been doing this for a really long time, fan favorite. And but if he decides to completely retire, I hope at least he will pop over to have some chats here and there, when he's bored or something. But anyway, if he decides to not do that, his work has been particularly phenomenal, and it's been an inspiration to us all. So also great thank you, of course, to Murad. This is not him, so don't try to go and get him. This is just from his from the icon that he uses, and then sending that through AI and asking AI to just create a face. So I hope that that's actually not him. This is just the rendition from AI. But of course, his work has been revolutionary. Of course, it is still met with much skepticism, and the reason is he removes all of the context from the Quran by translating it literally. And anyone who has ever read the Quran knows you cannot understand the Quran without any context, because it doesn't mention cities, it doesn't mention full stories. Everything is incredibly vague, which is obviously what the whole purpose of the standard Islamic narrative, to have something incredibly vague and then you just write whatever you want into it. And of course, Murad has removed that entirely with his translation, that obviously makes he created a translation that is also impossible to read, just like the Arabic one, because it doesn't have any context. If you remove all of the brackets of all Muhammad and these things, well, you know, there are verses that make absolutely no sense. But anyway, his work has been revolutionary. As I said many times, we use it here on the channel a lot. And our brother John uses as well his translation, um, like I think pretty much exclusively, in order to see what the theme of verses are once you have removed the sin. This could not be done by people like us who don't speak Arabic, until Murad had the bright idea to actually translate the Quran literally with the language of the 7th century. So I hope that he will be as well back in the game soon. We miss him dearly, and it would certainly be great to see further translations from him, whether it is the same one that he has done, but updated with more stuff, with perhaps more context or commentary or anything of the sort, or just jumping into a translation that actually uses words from other languages, perhaps from Syriac. For example, one could assume that if the Quran contains words that are very basic, they would always be Arabic. But if they are liturgical, they might actually be Syriac, because that was the lingua franca used for liturgical reasons and so on. So in any case, big thanks to Murad for his groundbreaking work. It certainly has been, well, groundbreaking or Quran breaking, and it has opened the doors for so many people to see the Quran in a way that was never seen before. In the past, you could have taken verse by verse and gone to ChatGPT and asked it to translate it literally, and it is very much hit and miss. I know, I've tried it, and Murad's translation still wins on that front. So Odon Lafontaine, great. So I didn't know actually what to write here in the title, so I wrote Islamic Secrets. I wanted to keep everything to pretty much like 2 words whenever possible. So his book, The Great Secret of Islam, is absolutely great. He has lots of phenomenal references in there, and it is a very easy book to read. Some academic books are impossible. They will use very complex language, very long sentences and stuff. But Odin's book is actually very easy read. You will understand it from start to finish. And Odin is particularly good, in my opinion, of giving, on the one hand, giving references, giving data that you can see what the data is, and then when he's interpreting the data, he is showing you that he is interpreting that, so that you don't confuse his the actual data and his opinion. So like this, you kind of see that if new data appears, he can actually just change how he joins the dots. So it is a phenomenal read, and he gives it away as well for free on PDF. So anyone who hasn't read it, make sure that you do. You will actually learn lots and lots of things from that book. We've had quite a few sessions, particularly at Lloyd's, where his insights are phenomenal. And we recorded as well the Christmas special where we went through nativity in the Quran. So if you haven't watched that one, make sure that you do. It was a lot of fun. It's always great to have a conversation with Odon, who has been doing this for a really long time. And it feels almost like he already knows everything. It's very difficult to surprise him on anything. He already knows the punchline that Muhammad is not in the book and so on. And he smokes a pipe, which is actually very cool. So hopefully next year we can actually have more shows with Odon if he will have us, because it is always phenomenal to actually have him around and discuss these origins of Islam with him. Then Usama. So we've got these shows. Usama is it's been an interesting experience when just getting to have some shows with. So I don't know, I may live to regret these words, but when it comes to Osama, he actually has put faith in me. uh, in me. There was a time, just a little while ago, when I thought that the people like him who already have studied all of the tafsir and all of the seerah and all of those things, and they know that so well, they develop tunnel vision. It's not just them, it's every single human. We normally just learn something and then that's what we know and that's that. So at one point I felt quite almost saddened to think that these great warriors who have been really learning Islam and speaking about Islam for many years and even decades, that they wouldn't be able to accept in any possible way that the whole thing was a fabrication, because they have already studied that. So I thought, this is not going to work. I'm going to show to Usama that the Quran actually is not talking about Muhammad. So in these verses that say Allah and the messenger, you read the context and it's actually about Jesus. I thought he's going to just go to the tafsir, throw the tafsir book at me, and that's that. And that's fine. We need to wait for the next generation of kids to grow up with an open mind, where they are not going to study tafsirs for decades, and then they can learn the new stuff. But I was very impressed that that was not the case with Usama at all, quite the opposite. He got the arguments immediately and saying, okay, so you're saying this is not Muhammad in here. Look at the context, and going, yeah, okay, yeah, that's not him. So I was incredibly impressed. It gave me at least that faith that we don't need to wait for the next generation of kids to grow up so that they learn everything new. That this can be done with the people who already know the Quran, the tafsir, and everything else incredibly well. That they will be able to see that the whole thing was a fabrication, and then they can apply all of that knowledge that they have on hadiths and all of that. And with the new information, they will become even more powerful. They will be able to give us answers as to the history of when things happen. Like imagine someone who knows all of these hadiths and tafsirs incredibly well, and then they realize that all of those things are a fabrication because those things are not in the Quran. Is like, okay, so when did they write these things? Why? In which region? What was going on? So they will be able to join dots very, very quickly because you already have that knowledge. It's almost like just missing one little piece of the jigsaw, which is Muhammad not being in the Quran. So particular thank you to Usama for at least putting that faith in me. And I really hope that he is not the exception and that he is the rule. And there will be people, more and more people, who uh, really believe in the narrative, but with Muhammad being a false prophet, that they will be able to realize, okay, it's a fabrication. I can now take that line of questioning. I can look at the Quran, I can look at the Qur'an, and solve problems for everybody, as opposed to just reciting what they knew 10 years ago. So particularly impressed with Osama. I'm very, very thankful for him actually getting these things and realize that I don't need to just um, basically write someone off because I think they are already so experienced that they are not going to learn the new arguments, but that we have to try this with everybody. And I really hope that everybody is just a little tiny bit like Usama. So that's great. And obviously, Lloyd, the Sharia master. So I didn't want to actually write anything about Quran just to have a little bit of a break from all of the other slides. I hope, well, anyone who follows Lloyd will know that he is exceedingly well researched. He actually puts sources. When he sent me any of his slideshows, they go into like 70 slides and things crazy like that. So he is incredibly, incredibly well researched. And then as he's just showing sources, when he says something that is speculative, he will make it clear, like this may mean that thing or that thing, but otherwise he's just throwing sources at you, and he's doing that with a good sense of humor. So I hope that next year we can see from him his Qira'at work, his more of his Sharia work, because the world is now starting to think in terms of Sharia more and more, and the Gnosticism as well. Now that I'm looking more and more at the other sources, not just the Quran, but the actual creation of the narrative, I think Lloyd might actually have lots of answers there. So hopefully he will um, do all of those shows again and refresh them, hopefully here on the channel, because they are absolutely fantastic. They're incredibly well researched, and it would be phenomenal to actually see that. And certainly with Sharia, people are still a little bit mm, very careful when it comes to Sharia. They don't want to talk about it because it's so controversial. And as we know, Lloyd doesn't care. So he knows Sharia full well. He started studying it before most people had even heard the word. And he's been going around the houses as well, doing the shows on Sharia. So I hope that we see more and more on that front, because the world is now asking those questions. He started this before anyone was asking the questions. Now they're asking the questions. I think it is about time that we throw this back at them. So, and Adam, so the professional Murtad himself. So we've had some conversations over there at Lloyd's. Hopefully next year he will agree to actually pop over here to the channel and do some things. Obviously he is, sometimes I wonder if he has a photographic memory. The same like with the Christian Prince. I don't understand how they have such level of um, recollection of hadiths and verses, and I don't know, they have uh, a memory that from my vantage point it feels superhuman, you know. So it's glad to have these guys on our team as opposed to the opposing team, that's for sure. But in any case, it's always a pleasure to speak with Adam. He is obviously beyond knowledgeable. His abilities as a debater are uh, just as good as the top guys, like I would say him, Rob Christian, and the Christian Prince, like on that sort of level, unique. And quite recently, someone said Adam is he who strikes fear in the hearts of imams everywhere. I thought that was very funny. So, in any case, I hope that we actually managed to speak with him more. He is not the guy that simply just knows, for example, the Quran and tafsir. It's like, no, he knows everything. So with him, you can talk about qira'at or manuscripts or the history or, I don't know, it's just like he has just researched everything. So I hope that we'll have more panel discussions at the very least at Lloyd's because his input and his background is phenomenal, as well as the actual raw knowledge that somehow he can hold in his head. I don't know, maybe it's because his head is that big. It's like 3 times the size of mine. So there you go. Maybe size does matter. So Zafar. So Zafar hasn't been here on the channel. I have been working with him. Is I think most people will probably know him. He's obviously very popular, particularly in India and in that part of the world. He's a phenomenal guy. I have been working with him on some stuff, and I really hope that next year we will be able to do some things together, and that he might actually show up here on the channel every once in a while. That would be wonderful. He is an ex-Muslim, and in his region, everybody knows him and everybody fears him. He would be sort of the almost like the Adam Seekers of the world, except more general about what Islam is, as opposed to let's verses and Quran and contradictions. But Zafar is an incredibly knowledgeable guy, and even though lots of his videos will be in Hindi, so it's a bit difficult. But he also has an English channel, and hopefully we can actually help him as well grow on that front. But great guy. There will be some projects and things happening. So the chances are you are going to see his name pop up here on the channel, hopefully quite soon, for reasons that I'm not at liberty to discuss. So now, very briefly, and pretty much just to close off. So the road ahead, what is going to happen next year? Well, the answer is, I don't know. I'm not a prophet. So, but this is the intention. A lot of the stuff that we've discussed here on the channel, particularly with verses, simply verses in the Quran, just trying to put together the most obvious ones, the ones that people must have seen, discussing with Lloyd and Odon and Adam and Osama and so on, and even with Joe and with Murad and with Mel. So all of those things, I've started to take each and every single one of those singular verses and starting to put together like presentations for them. And I got to something like 50, just like that. I was just from a couple of slideshows that I had done here and there, and I had already 50. So when I go through all of the other stuff that I've been researching, probably there will be over 100 verses, as simple as that, that they were told that is about Islam and they have nothing to do with Islam. So I put here 100 plus, and I think that's probably very conservative. We have to go through every single verse, and if in just a few minutes I got to like around 50 from the previous shows, I'm sure that we're going to reach that quite easily. The goal with that is that let me see actually that I don't have it in the next slide. I spoil it. No, okay. So the goal at the moment is to what I'm doing is I'm going through each and every single one of those things, but I'm checking whether they are shown in Sharia law, at least in the Reliance of the Traveler, which is the one manual that I use. I need to probably find others. I look at tafsirs, I look at the Qira'at, and if in any odd cases there are any other writings, like in the Sira or something like this, I pull them up as well. so that when we speak about one topic, it will not simply be, here is the verse, look at the context, you see that it is nothing to do with Islam, but depending on the verse we are discussing, I can actually show, let's look at tafsir and how different tafsir writers, they are making up different stories like they don't know, or how different translators just try to mislead us as to what a verse actually says, and these sort of things, or how a verse that has nothing to do with Islam is then used in Sharia law, or those sort of things. So the equivalent of everything that we have done before, plus more, and every single one of those topics going into a lot of depth, as much as I possibly can, by looking at these extra sources. And I can tell you, so far, there are quite a few of them that I've started to work on. And by the time that you get to like the tafsir, you see that everybody's saying something different. And it is interesting because every Muslim would tell you, no, the meaning of this is one thing because the prophet told us. But then you go to the tafsir writers and you can see that everybody has a different story. Like they didn't know, they were trying to make up an excuse. So when you see some of those, it becomes very, very funny. So hopefully, if things go according to plan, big caveat is to do all of those topics in as shorts, also long form. So basically shorts to do a topic very, very quickly in like 1 minute from start to finish. Then the normal video as long form, where we can actually just see things in a little bit more detail, 5-10 minutes long, these sort of things. And then doing some of the live streams where we can cover maybe 2 or 3 or 5 different verses at a time with all of the detail. So hopefully, maybe the algorithm will like that and will be pushing these particular topics in any of them. You know, there's only one way to find out, and we will see. So that will be in terms of content. Other things that hopefully will happen is, so I'm working on putting a lot of the stuff that we've been showing here on the channel in one book, and make sure that you actually stay tuned. The plan, if things go well, is the book will be available for free for a short period of time, unless Amazon just plays tricks, which it sometimes does when you do something that is not flattering for Islam. So at one point, if this goes well, I will publish a lot of the stuff that has been going on here on the channel in a book that will be available for free for a limited period of time. You can actually do that to, get it to go a little bit viral. So it would be great for people if you stay tuned for when this thing happens, and if and when it happens, that you can just go pick it up for free, review it, send it to everyone that you know, and let's see if we can break through some barriers that I need to explain at one point about the different barriers. In fact, actually, I will do that in a moment. So that's one thing. Another thing I'm working on is academia papers. There are a few things that have to actually be put through. Basically, it has to be sent to the scholars and get that beating and start changing the narrative. So hopefully that will happen together with challenges to the standard narrative that is at the moment. I'm starting to get pretty sick of people reading Muhammad into the Quran when they should start by reading him out of the Quran. So there's probably going to be some fights next year, but in good faith. I really hope there will be in good faith. Now, next one is I want to actually work on some more fun and higher quality stuff together with the shorts and the long form videos and stuff. We had one video on the channel that was like a cartoon. It did reasonably well. People seem to actually like it, but it didn't really, it was too much work. And then it didn't really go, say, too far or as far as I would have liked. So we have another one. I'll show you that right now. So this is a video that should be released like quite soon, and I hope that you will like it. I'm getting there. It is a ridiculous amount of work, and it should be like a parody where we have a Muslim from the 7th century having a conversation with modern Muslims. So far, I've done probably a little bit more than half of the recording. Is hopefully you will find it to be very funny and that you will be sharing it to friends and stuff when it drops. And in a way, I really hope that you will not ask me to do a lot more than this, because it takes a ridiculous amount of time, which I could actually use with research. That being said, I'm always happy to consider help or getting help from people. So if anyone out there, you want to actually help creating some things, please get in touch. Likewise, if you're actually doing some research yourself, make sure that as well you reach out, and maybe you can actually come here on the show and explain it. If you actually show something, then we don't have to do all of that reading, when you can actually just pop in and just give the summary. At the moment, most of the stuff I'm getting from people is read this book, and I keep getting books and articles and papers, and it's like I don't have enough time to do all of that research. It would really be useful when people have already done it to actually come and explain it to people. Otherwise, I'll get there when I get there, but I'm pretty snowed under with reading and behind with all of that stuff. So um, hopefully we will then have more collabs, as I said as well. So anybody who is actually particularly experienced on a particular area of research, there are so many things that I would like to do and I don't have the opportunity. In many cases, I don't even have the skills. So if you have been working on Islamic research, particularly around the Quran, and you have things to share, please reach out. We can have a conversation and we see if it is appropriate for that to be here on the channel. And then, of course, I will always put something like secret projects. So there will be some things that they might be just sprang at short notice and say, hey, we have been working in behind the scenes on something for a long time, and here is the result. So make sure that you check the posts for anything a little bit unusual. Also, what I'll like to say, actually, I forgot to say this, but it's been great to have a lot of contribution from people, lots of comments. It is very much appreciated. So Valerie, Grace, Harsh, Eric, and Asif, everybody else, your comments have been absolutely phenomenal, and it has really helped a lot to keep the morale high, particularly when doing something that it takes this much work, is very groundbreaking, and it doesn't seem to actually get too far too quickly. It's pretty much baby steps. So your support and encouragement is very, very, very welcome. So keep it coming as well. For the people who have been sending comments about particular verses, like have a look at this one, have a look at that one, that has been very, very good as well. So if you have thoughts about particular verses that you think that you have figured out and they are problematic, reach out. They are very, very helpful. Do not rely on me to just get the research done and say, oh, well, you pointed me to this verse. I've done the research. It's like I'll obviously get there, but the more eyes we have on this topic, the better. So it will go a lot quicker if everybody figured out something small and we all came together and we shared it. We would all have all of the answers, as opposed to having some form of bottleneck. Okay, so this is what I said, that I will just explain it here. So this is the way I see the current situation. So we have, for the most part, sorry, 1 second. Just looking at settings here. Why is this thing not working? Oh, it's styles. I prefer that one. I think that one is much, much cooler. All right, so this is the way I see the battleground as it is happening at the moment. So we have these 3 niches that most people are very familiar with on the internet, which are Christian apologists, And I'm not talking about evangelists, I'm talking about those who are actually confronting Islam. Then ex-Muslims, and then we have researchers. Obviously, there are other subgroups, but these are like the big bulk of those who are confronting Islam on a daily basis, speaking with Muslims, showing sources, and they are incredibly well researched. So there is a little bit of crossover. For example, Christian apologists. And so, for example, the apostate prophet, he used to be, I would say, in this camp. He was one of the ex-Muslims. Like there are lots of ex-Muslims out there basically telling Muslims, Islam is not what you think. You're in the West. You have no idea what it is. I was actually in it, and it's not that. And they tell them what it is. So ex-Muslims, for example, the apostate prophet was there. Now you could say he's an ex-Muslim, but okay, fine, he's a Christian, so he would be as well in that camp. And if you say researchers, so anyone engaged in the historical critique of Islam, these sort of things. So in the scholarly circles and also independent researchers. So somebody like, say, Jay Smith, he will probably be on both the camp of researchers and also Christian apologist. He doesn't use the hadiths and these things anymore, but he knows them by heart, and that's actually the core of as well his belief. So these are the three niches. But if you compare this to, for example, the followers that the Dawagandists have, is not even close. Like, why are the Dawagandists so incredibly powerful? Because they are telling Muslims what they want to hear, and these people here, they are saying things that Muslims don't want to hear, and also uh, Christians and actual secular people, they are not really inclined to go down this path because they have been using the word Islamophobia so much that they see these people saying things against the religion of peace, and it's like, oh, there is something wrong with these people. Okay, and obviously that's a big problem because for the most part, these people here are the ones responsible for the apostasy rates in Islam and pretty much the collapse of the whole thing, which is happening during our lifetimes. So the thing is, these people are, this is almost like a huge open secret. There is almost like a red line, and then everybody else, like the majority of the people, they are secular. They wouldn't even engage or even consider getting into any of these camps because, as I said, propaganda. We have been told you have to just be understanding of everyone's beliefs, and Islam is the religion of peace. So when these people talk against it, these people are like, oh no, I don't want to be seen with those sort of people because, I don't want to be seen as an Islamophobe. But then these people, when they start having bad experiences or they hear from some preachers saying things like, we're going to conquer the West and we're going to impose Sharia, that's when they open their eyes and they say, hey, hang on a minute. This doesn't actually sound good. There are some problems here. And then is when they will find some of these people. But there is this huge red line. So then there are lots of people in here with all the, for example, all the respect and admiration to somebody like, for example, Douglas Murray, people who know that there is problem with Islam. They know that somebody like Douglas Murray, he is incredibly well researched. He wouldn't surprise me if he has read as much Sharia as Lloyd and these sort of things, and he's very vocal about it. He says Islam is not compatible with the West. Okay, so who will be listening to him? People from this camp, people who are very secular, and they can listen to like to him and going, yeah, it's not compatible. These things, there is something wrong. But what they are missing is the trick that these people are pretty much in secret. It's almost like an open secret. They are the ones causing Islam to not spread. Without these people, the West would have collapsed already. Okay, so these people are the ones in the battleground. They are the ones doing the actual work. They are the ones that have the answers. They're the ones who know what works, and also the ones who are finding even more answers. But these people here, they're missing all of that trick. they're missing the fact that the answers are already there. These people have already done the work. But that's the problem. How many times do you see people like that, like Douglas Murray, Ben Shapiro, um, Jordan Peterson, or people like this actually talking about these things? Jordan Peterson has spoken a couple of times about these sort of things, but it's not in this level. You would know that what these people are doing is very much unknown by the majority of the population. And as the problem keeps on growing, more of these people are going to start gravitating towards this. But the main thing is this line has to be destroyed. That is a very important thing. The people in this camp, they are getting way too slowly to learn that there are these three niches, that these people are doing a lot of work with very little appreciation, and that they already have the answers. So this line has to be broken. When that happens, things will go quicker. Obviously, this will happen if something very big and very bad happens. And what I really hope is that that will not be the case, and that we manage to basically do it in our own terms, and we manage to break this barrier. So with that in mind, I'm trying whatever I can with my limited skills and experience. I'm just a guy doing his best. So hence why when I get to something like this, like particularly with a book, maybe with something else on the channel that might actually help break that barrier, it is, or it would be absolutely phenomenal to have as many people as possible helping. And it will not be with any, say, monetary assistance. As I said, that's why I say keep on top of this, because if it happens, it will be free for some time. But if that then gets out there and more people actually pick it up, there are enough reviews. Amazon doesn't just squash, for example, that particular work, then we are causing some damage to this line. Maybe with enough efforts from enough people, this thing breaks. And then we can have everybody realizing what the heck is actually going on. In fact, when I saw the apostate prophet speaking at what was the thing? The Turning Point USA, I thought, great. That is actually a very good sign, because he is basically on this camp. And the people that he was speaking with, they're all on this camp. They wouldn't have known the apostate prophet unless they were a Turning Point to see him. Everybody else would be like, who is this guy? Well, why is he talking about Islam? Is he an Islamophobe? That's how it is. So seeing that guy speaking with the people who don't know about this is very important. They need to understand that there is a whole different um, a whole different war actually being fought, and it is a religious one. And when I say religious, it's not because these guys are the Christians ones. We have the ex-Muslims just saying, get it, get out of Islam, like right now. And you have the researchers, which every single day there is more evidence that proves that the whole thing is a fabrication. So it's like these people are just trying to prevent something very bad from happening. But there is this damn red line that has been created by propaganda for the most part. But in any case, all of this is just happening naturally because there is more and more things happening. So people are not moving from this line to this line. People are only moving from this line to this line. And we can just help to make it happen quicker. That's all I think that we can do, or at least that's the plan. We will see what happens. Anyway, I think that's like pretty much it. I don't know if I promised before to keep this session short, but if I didn't, so that was the intention all along. Just a very short session. Once again, thank you for everybody who has contributed and helped this year with both their own research, with comments, with support, and all of those wonderful things. It is very, very well received and very much appreciated. I hope that you have enjoyed learning quite a few things on the channel this year, and next year is going to be a lot more savage. So I hope that you look forward to that one. And any ideas or comments, please reach out, and hopefully you can actually help us come up with better thoughts and ideas. And let's see how much work we can actually get done in the next 12 months. But for now, if you are in Australia, it's probably the new year for you. So happy new year to you. If you are in the US, it's probably going to be still quite early in the morning. But to all of you, regardless of what time zone you are in, happy new year. Wishing you all of the best for 2026. God bless you all. We will see you then. Bye-bye.
Indeed, we said goodbye to the night of decree. And what can make you know what is the night of decree? The night of decree is better than 1,000 months. The angels and the spirit descend there by permission of the Lord for every matter. Peace it is until the emergence of dawn. Nous l'avons fait descendre pendant la nuit d'Al-Qadr. Et qui te dira ce qu'est la nuit d'Al-Qadr? La nuit d'Al-Qadr est meilleure que 1000 mois. Durant celle-ci descendent les anges ainsi que l'esprit, porteur mission de leur Seigneur pour tout ordre. Et les paix et salut jusqu'à l'apparition de l'aube. Wahrlich, wir haben ihn hinabgesandt in die Nacht von Al-Qadr. Und was lehrt dich wissen ist, was die Nacht von Al-Qadr? Die Nacht von Al-Qadr ist besser als 1000 Monate. Es kommen die Engel und der Geist in ihr, mit der Erlaubnis ihres Herrn, mit jeder Angelegenheit herab. Frieden ist sie bis zum Anbruch der Morgenröte. Es cierto que lo hicimos descender a la noche del decreto. Y cómo hacerte saber que es la noche del decreto. La noche del decreto es mejor que 1000 meses. En ella descienden los ángeles y el espíritu con las órdenes de tu Señor para cada asunto. Ella cura hasta il despuntar dell'alba. Il vero l'abbiamo fatto scendere nella notte del destino. E chi potrà farti comprendere cos'è la notte del destino? La notte del destino è migliore di 1000 mesi. In essa discendono gli angeli e lo spirito con il permesso del loro Signore per fissare ogni decreto. E pace fino al levarsi dell'alba. Voorwaar, wij hebben hem neergezonden in de waardevolle nacht. En wat doet jullie weten wat de waardevolle nacht is? De waardevolle nacht is beter dan 1000 maanden. De engelen en de geest daalden in haar weer met de toestemming van het Heer. Voor elke beschikking, het is vrede tot het reizen van de dageraad. Achen, anu horadenu belel hagoral. והעמדה היא לך מהו ליל הגורל. ליל הגורל טוב יותר מ1000 חודשים. המלאכים והרוח יורדים בו, בהית ריבונם לכל משימה. שלום הוא עד עלות השחר. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر. ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر.